Rob, you should have pre-recorded all your play the tape.
Yeah, it was us four, and then my mother-in-law, my father-in-law,
Hit the button.
my husband's grandma, and then we actually went with two of our friends and their two kids too. They went too. Yeah, we had a bunch of us go. It was fun. Yeah, we had a good time. Want to come back?
Good morning. Welcome to the Bullitt County Fiscal Court on July the 7th of 2020. At this time, I would like to ask our CFO, Keith Griffey, to lead us in the invocation, please.
Let us pray. Heavenly Father, thank you for the opportunity to finally be back together. Be with each one of these leaders and everyone in this room as we come together to discuss the county's business. Lord, we ask your blessing on this community, this state, and this nation as we go forward. In Jesus' name, amen.
Amen. Amen. At this time, Rhonda Walls, lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance.
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you all. At this time, Sam, would you call the roll, please?
Mr. Mitchell? Yes. Mr. Loxton?
Yes.
Mr. Laswell?
Yes.
Mr. Raho?
Yes.
Judge Summers?
Yes.
All present?
Thank you. Treasurer's transfer report, Ann?
Yes, Judge, that report was dated for June the 25th of 2020 for your approval.
One motion. Second.
Got a motion by 1st District Magistrate Mitchell, a second by 2nd District Magistrate Logston to approve the Treasurer's transfer report as presented. Any discussion? Hearing none, Sam, call the roll, please.
Mr. Loxton?
Yes.
Mr. Laswell?
Yes.
Mr. Raho?
Yes.
Judge Summers?
Yes.
Mr. Mitchell?
Yes.
Motion carried.
Thank you. Number 5, presentation, approval of all bills.
Make a motion. Go ahead.
I was going to say, I make a motion that we approve all the bills as presented.
Second.
Got a motion by 2nd District Magistrate Logston, a second by 4th District Magistrate Rahill for the presentation, approval of all bills as presented. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, Sam, call the roll, please.
Mr. Laswell?
Yes.
Mr. Raho?
Yes.
Judge Summers?
Yes.
Mr. Mitchell?
Yes.
Mr. Loxton?
Yes.
Motion carried.
And number 6, approval of minutes for June 16, 2020, and also the special meeting on June the 29th of 2020.
I make a motion we approve the minutes dated June 16th and June 29th, 2020.
Second.
I got a motion by 2nd District Magistrate Logston, a second by 3rd District Magistrate Laswell to approve the minutes as presented for June 16, 2020 and June 29, 2020. Any discussion? Hearing none, Sam, call the roll, please.
Mr. Raho?
Yes.
Judge Summers?
Yes.
Mr. Mitchell?
Yes.
Mr. Loxton?
Yes.
Mr. Laswell?
Yes.
Motion carried.
Thank you. Presentations, Kelly Colley from the U.S. Census Bureau.
Thank you, Judge, Magistrates, for having me back to the court today to talk about a few things and give everyone a census update about what's going on. I do have several slides, so if you guys want to refer to those as I talk. Some of them are necessary and important for the visuals that will put some things in your head. One of the updates that we have coming is that group quarters counting will begin on, or did begin on July 1st and will run through September. That will be important again when we look at one of the statistics here in a few minutes. But remember that group quarters is where we go into places like jail, jails, extended living facilities, nursing homes, hospitals, those types of things, and count individuals as a group because they all receive mail at one address. So we have a different process for counting those with the census, and that began on July 1st. It was originally scheduled to begin in March, and so that would have been completed by the middle of April, but because of the COVID situation, that got delayed and pushed back, and that's going to be set to begin July 1st. The Faith Communities Weekend of Action is coming up July 24th through the 26th, so we would ask that you speak with your churches and your faith leaders and talk with them about sharing the 2020 census message, and again, encourage your community to respond. If you remember the first time I spoke with the court, I kind of reminded everybody that even Mary and Joseph had to travel all the way back to Bethlehem to respond to the census, so we know that this does go back to Bible times, and it's important that we continue to count ourselves in the census and make sure that we're counted appropriately. So that's a good message to bring. The third point up there is the highly mobile MQAs. I thought I worked in the industry before that had a lot of initials and acronyms for everything until I worked for the census, and now I realize everything has special letters. But what that stands for is a Mobile Questionnaire Assistance Location Center. The truth is that Bullitt County has done so well that I don't believe that we will have any of those that are necessary in our area, but if we do, there's only one pocket of places, and it's literally right across Frank Simon Highway here, that we would need to identify a location somewhere in that census tract that we could set up that has heavy foot traffic, that would have people that come in from the neighborhood and would potentially be able to be asked to respond to the census in person because the letters that they've gotten haven't stimulated their concern enough. The next thing on the list up there is what we call NARFU, or non-response follow-up. That's when everybody starts going around and knocking on the door. The census workers go to try to encourage you to respond to the census because they haven't received your self-response yet. That is, again, the most costly way that we collect the data, and it's the most inaccurate way that we collect the data, because if you don't answer the door and don't answer our questions, we go to your neighbor after the fourth knock. And your neighbor may not know how many people live in your house or how old they are or any of that information, but we're going to find out how many people live there. We just may not have all the information that we need about them. So remember that is going to actually begin in mid-August and will run through the end of October, which is now when the census is scheduled to end. Originally, the date was July 31st, if you guys recall. That date has now been extended to October 31st before we have to wrap that up. So people can still respond online, and our self-response rates that you'll see here in just a moment will continue to raise for Bullitt County as people are getting those knocks on the door and having little notes and messages left. Then they may go online or mail in their written survey at that time, and so that's still counted in the self-response, but they may choose to answer in person as well. There are some very specific social distancing guidelines that our employees are being trained on right now for that process, and so it will be handled differently than it's been handled in the past, but we still will make sure that we get those completed. The next date on the list is the Experiencing Homelessness Individuals. That was originally scheduled to be done the last 2 days of March when it was kind of cold weather, and they have general locations where they knew homeless individuals lived and grouped to sleep together, and so they go from 10 p.m. to 5 a.m. 2 nights in a row and count those individuals. Now that we have moved it to this September date, which is September 22nd through the 24th, the concern is that we may not necessarily have the same types of camps that we have in colder weather. So if you guys are aware of anywhere in Bullitt County that you know that we have some camps of homeless individuals that would like to be counted or that need to be counted and included in the numbers, then please get that information to me so that I can get it to our operations team and they can deploy people to the right locations. I know some of our libraries and some of the other counties tend to have camps in the woods behind where the library locations are, because they use the Wi-Fi and the restrooms and the water at the libraries. I don't think that that's the case at any of our Bullitt County libraries, but there could be some other locations, community centers or that type of thing that they camp near. So please let me know of any of that if you're aware. And again, our new scheduled date for completion is October 31st. So we're ready for the next slide. As we start to look kind of at the overall, what we're seeing is that nationally we got a 61.9% self-response rate. Kentucky is up there, ranked number 14th in the country right now for self-response at 65.3%. Go ahead. So again, Kentucky is 65.3, Bullitt County itself is at 76.1, and that puts us third in the Commonwealth for response rate across the whole place. You're only right behind Oldham County at 80.5% and Spencer County at 77.8%. Next slide. This gives you kind of a better picture of what our census tracts look like in Bullitt County. So you can see that all the colors up there represent lots of information. The darkest blue are the most highest responding areas, and the lightest blue is the lowest responding area. We even have some counties in Kentucky that still have lots of really dark orange, which means that they're below 25% response rate. We don't have any orange or brown on our map at all, so that's fantastic. And again, we've got that one lowest tract that's that light blue that you see where the location is, and it's kind of right across Frank Simon in those neighborhoods. Next slide, please. Fox Chase, yay! You guys are doing fantastic over in the Fox Chase area. You are at 86.9% self-response rate. That's the highest we have. Actually, Fox Chase is like in one of the top 10 cities in the entire Commonwealth for response rate. So that's fantastic over there. Next slide. Our next highest response rate is the Cedar Grove Road to the Claremont Road area in that census tract. So yay to you as well. You're at 86.5. So you're almost as good as Fox Chase. Not quite. We're almost there. But those are our two darkest blue areas. The next slide has a lot of census tracts on it. This is kind of the east side of Bullitt County. And what you see there, and I've kind of numbered the tracts as you go across. Highway 44 is the one that runs across the middle of the screen up through there, and for the majority, all of those are in the 80s, with the one exception of the Mount Washington tract that's in the high 70s, 73%. So you're looking at those kind of numbers on that side of Bullitt County. The next slide is the west side of Bullitt County, and those numbers are a little bit lower. Again, this has that lowest responding tract that we've got right across the road at 58.7%. And then the next one outside of that goes from Brooks, kind of south, all the way around that one census tract, and it is at 64.8%. The thing I want to remind you there is that our jail is in that tract, and when we get that group response from that location, that percentage should go up. So you should see that tract specifically have a little bit of a rise there, and anywhere else that we know that we have some nursing homes or extended living that may be a little bit lower, those will rise in percentage as well. And so you'll continue to see some updates on these, and you do have a live opportunity. If you go to 2020census.gov, response-rates, you can see this live data that gets updated every day as people respond on the internet or as they turn in surveys and those types of things. So you're welcome to go there and watch your response rates for Bullitt County increase and rise at any time. I do want to give a kudos down there to the tract number 18 that we have at 71.6%, which is kind of the entire southern triangle of Lebanon Junction and all of Bullitt County. That actually is a really good rate for them. The 2010 census, I think we were at 58% response rate from that area. So obviously we've really increased their response rate for that area. So they've been doing some great things and getting the information out down there and getting those numbers up. Overall, Bullitt County is, like I said, fantastic. We're rated 3 in the Commonwealth, and you are already way above where you were self-response rate for the 2010 census. But we want to make sure that we continue to get everybody counted in this area, because we know that every person amounts to dollars. And in things like this crisis where we've had the COVID situation and all the extra dollars going to the schools and those kinds of things, all of that is determined by the population that we figure out is here. And so we can't get the money that we need to support our area unless we make sure that we count every individual from birth through death. So we want to make sure we get that done. Thank you.
Let me ask you, so
Sure.
Did you say that was 69.9 was the overall count for Bullitt County right now? I mean, as far as what is responding?
No, it was at 78.6.
Okay.
Or 76.1, I'm sorry.
Is that all strictly from the mail-ins?
Mail-in and internet, yes.
All right, that's very good. Thank you.
Any other questions?
Where do they determine the benchmark at for that percentage? So we're trying to find out how many people's in the county, but we're basing a percentage off what we suggest or think is there. So how do y'all determine that?
Well, there is a very complicated formula that they do up at the Census Bureau in Philadelphia, but it really is based off the 2017 estimates and some information that was sent in, as well as LUCA data, because remember that the census is not only an accounting of the individuals that are in the county, but it it is also a counting of the livable homes or the livable housing that's in the area. So you're seeing a lot of those percentages came from the Luca data that was turned in, and then also when the census workers went out back in October of last year, and we're going and doing GPS mapping to make sure that that's a livable address and that the home is still a good enough home that it could house somebody. So we count those as well. You guys don't, or we as Bullitt County actually don't have a big lake area or something like that, but we have a lot of vacation homes. We have two counties that I'm in charge of, Grayson County and Breckenridge County, because of Rough River and Nolan Lake, that actually they got two areas that are around 40% response rate, because 60% of the whole housing there doesn't have people who live in it 6 months of the year. So we don't have that here, but we could potentially have a few vacation homes somewhere. So there's places that people, you know, if they live in Florida for 7 months of the year and then only come back here for certain things, Bullitt County is kind of their home, but they're not living there, so they don't get counted here.
Well, thank you so much. That's real interesting.
Yep. Thanks, Kelly.
Thank you.
Jordan, Jim? Global Water Company, easement on Saltwell.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you.
How about it? You know.
Thank you.
I got copies up here for everyone.
Well, good morning, everyone. Thank you for having us out. My name's Jordan Basham. I'm a project engineer with the Louisville Water Company. With me here today, I have Jim Gruno, who's our Director of Engineering, and Anthony Hewitt, who is our Manager of Distribution Extensions. We also have our friends from Big Six Auto Sales and Service, Jack and Amber Thorpe, I believe two of the newest business owners in Bullitt County. So we're here today to discuss an easement that's needed to serve their new property along Saltwell Court. If you refer to the handout that Jim gave you, I'll be referencing some different things on this throughout this little presentation, so please keep an eye on that. So we have plans to install a 4-inch water main and an existing access easement. However, that easement does not grant utility rights. So if you look at your handout, there's this orange outline. That's an existing access easement on the Bullitt County property on 200 Saltwell Court. Our easement is along the southeastern property line of that same property, the Bullitt County property. You can see that hatched in yellow there. So the proposed water main is shown as this bold blue line that extends from the existing 6-inch water main up at the top of your page, down, and then it crosses Saltwell Court and it goes on to the Thorpe property, which is directly adjacent to the Bullitt County property. So again, the purpose of this project is to provide domestic water service to the newly constructed Big Six Auto Sales and Service Garage. This project should be completed fairly quickly, we expect, by the end of summer 2020. In order to accomplish this project, we are requesting a 20-foot utility easement from Bullitt County, who owns the property. Again, the easement's highlighted or hatched in yellow there. And one of our service requirements or requirements to obtain service from Louisville Water is that a property has to have frontage along either right-of-way with a water main, or it has to have frontage with an easement that has a water main in it. So currently there was no water main, so the property was not eligible for service, so hence the reason for the project. If you turn to the next page of the packet that Jim gave you, there's a copy of the deed of easement for this easement we're discussing, and basically this document lays out the minor restrictions on the property and then the rights that it grants Louisville Water as the utility that owns the water main. In general, the easement grants Louisville Water the right to install, access, and maintain the proposed 4-inch water main. Restrictions within the easement extent include things like permanent structures cannot be constructed within the easement area, and any changes in grade within the easement area must receive prior approval from Louisville Water. Fences, parking, landscaping, things like that are allowed in the easement areas. and in the event future disturbance must occur within the easement for any of the purposes stated within the deed, which are basically in this first paragraph, installing, operating, maintaining, reconnecting, repairing, so on and so forth, the water main. In the event that that happens, we'll restore the easement to its pre-disturbed condition. So we don't think that this easement should adversely encumber the Bullitt County site, given that it's located within so it's a 20-foot easement located within a 30-foot access easement, which already has existing utilities in it. And our easement allows for surface features like landscaping and paving if Bullitt County should wish to improve the property in those ways in the future. So again, we just want to reiterate that this water main extension is being performed to facilitate local development. It's not being performed to provide a broader benefit to the Louisville water distribution system. And we request that the fiscal court approve donating this easement with the consideration that the easement is necessary for the purpose of providing water service to Big Six Auto Sales and Service. So we appreciate your time hearing us today. Does anyone have any questions regarding this easement?
Jordan,
Yes.
Joe Ray and I looked at this, and of course I got a set of prints and everything on this and everything. But everything that you're really looking for from Bullitt County or from fiscal court is basically in that road.
Is this, excuse me?
Is in that road.
It's in a roadway.
It's in the roadway.
Which is good, bro.
Oh, yeah.
As long as y'all blacktop it all the way down. All right, we had a good run.
Daniel's easy to deal with, so.
But it already falls within a 30-foot access easement that already exists, is that?
It does, it just doesn't explicitly give utility rights, so we basically would need to get an easement that does allow utility installation and access.
Okay.
It just basically, it really just enhances the area and everything for development, whatever you want to do in that area there. So to me, it's not a problem whatsoever, not for me.
Okay.
I think it'd be, because you're going to upgrade everything all up to 6-inch line anyway.
Yeah.
So it's all going to, it'd be beneficial to everybody.
Well, so there is a 6-inch main along the top here, but our main is a 4-inch. I just wanted to.
Up to that far hydrant, it's already a 6-inch
Yes.
main.
Yes. Yes.
So, right. Like I say, nobody don't have any objections. I'll just make a motion that we approve this.
Second.
It will benefit everybody.
I don't have a problem at all with it.
Joe?
I'm good.
John, I have a motion and a First District Magistrate Mitchell, a second by Fourth District Magistrate Rahill to approve this, but I do have some discussion. John, have you looked at
I've looked at it, and the way they've drafted it does lie within a easement area or roadway area. It will not affect Bullitt County's building that we're trying to get back at this point from Red Cross. It's not going to be a burden to it. It will improve the area, so I would recommend fiscal court approve the easement and grant it to the water company.
Okay. Any other discussion? Hearing none, Sam, call the roll.
Judge Summers?
Yes.
Mr. Mitchell?
Yes.
Mr. Logston?
Yes.
Mr. Laswell?
Yes.
Mr. Rahill?
Yes.
Motion carried.
Thank you.
Thank you.
When will y'all start that project, do you know?
So the schedule is, it's not being performed directly by Louisville Water. It's projects like this where we're extending a main, or we're having a main extended for development, is typically contracted out by the developer, which is John and Amber in this case. So I don't want to speak for you. If you'd like to say, I'm sure the answer is as soon as possible, but.
That's the plan, is to do it as soon as possible. We're going to get this first, and then we'll get the bids, and then once we do it, we're hoping in the next 4 to 6 months or months.
Okay. Thank you.
Jordan, I just want to say, it was a lot easier this time.
Oh.
I'm just harassing Jim. Thank you.
Thank you all.
And where y'all coming from? You said new to Bullitt County, newest business. Are you from Bullitt County?
We've been in Bullitt County 7 years. She knows me well.
Okay.
He's in the clerk's office all the time.
So we moved out here, brought our kids, and it's just, we like the area, and got lucky and found this piece of land.
Well, good deal. Welcome to Bullitt County. Thank you.
Awesome.
We appreciate it.
Are you a member of the chamber? Right behind you is the chamber director.
Yes, you can talk.
Thank you, Jim. Thank you all.
Yep. At this time, we have multiple planning and zoning ordinances, but what I would like to do for the time of our supervisors that's here, I'd like to drop down into action item number 7, because I know our road foreman has a busy day today. Talk to us about his purchase of a backhoe.
Mr. Watkins, how you doing today? Thank you, sir.
Robert?
Thank you, thank you.
Thank you.
Got one for John, too. I'll take this thing down.
Okay? Yeah, go ahead.
Y'all want to call me an ambulance if I don't.
All right.
This backhoe's gonna take place of the John Deere we got, because it's just the type of machine it is. It don't do us no good whatsoever.
Your mic on there, Robert?
Sounds like it. It's echoing back here. Can y'all hear me? Can you hear me?
There you go.
There we go.
Last go round it good.
Yeah, the John Deere that we have now, it just sits all the time because this type machine it is, you just can't get no work out of it. It's not built for what we're doing. And this new machine will be it's going to have the hydraulic thumb on it, so we can use the rear as a claw, and then it'll have the three-way bucket on the front, so we don't have to have IT to where we have to switch them out. And this was, this actually, they went state contract pricing on this, and then they went lower than that because we took a machine that was already sitting there. They just had to put the attachments to it. And then we've got I didn't keep me a copy. We've got an old grader sitting over there, and ain't even started since I've been there. Sits in the back, and so I asked them to look at it for a trade-in, and they offered us $20,000 on it. And then the John Deere backhoe, they offered us $30,000 in on it, which I called around several equipment dealers, and we weren't going to get that, so that'll be, the machine comes 107 minus that 50, so it'll be 57,000. And of course, we can't get it before this next cleanup day, but we'll have it before the following one.
Right. And so, Robert, with this, what you're able to do, it matches your fleet as well with Caterpillar?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, that brings everything over to Cat, and all the software and everything we're having to buy, and equipment we're having to buy to work on our Caterpillar stuff. Now we'll be able to work on it.
Right.
And not have to buy Cat and John Deere case. Because that software, I think this year the software is going to run us about $6,000 just to work on the equipment. So we'll know what's wrong with it.
I know you're pretty familiar with all this equipment and everything out there, Robert. Do you feel real comfortable with Caterpillar?
Yeah.
figured you would.
Yeah, that's,
They've proven out to do what
yeah.
they do.
I mean, me personally, I'm a poor guy, but I've always bought Caterpillar on my own when I'm spending out of my own pocket. And I priced one of these machines for myself a couple of years ago.
Right.
So yeah, I mean, they're top of the line, and as far as holding, that's the only way to go.
You've been well satisfied over the years and everything on your parts and everything that you need.
Yeah, the parts departments are open 24/7, so if we have a disaster and we're out in the middle of the night and we tear something up, we don't go down, we just send somebody over. They got the parts right on hand most of the time. So, I'm open every day but Christmas.
That grader, is that a grader blade 120G?
Yeah, that was the grader.
And that's an 85 model, so that sounds like they're offering pretty good on that.
Yeah.
Would you say they're allowing 20,000 for that one?
Yep.
And then 30 for the other?
Yep. Said the other one, that John Deere, I'd say since I've been there, we put maybe 16 hours on it, 18 hours on it since I've been there. I always leave it parked over on the west side of the county just in case we have something in the middle of the night over there. We got something there, we don't have to spend an hour and a half trying to get it tracked over.
Right.
I think you know what you need and you know what works good, and you know, if Wayne does a good job of servicing their equipment, I have no problem with it. It's just a matter of, figuring out, is the money there and where, where the money's coming from.
Yeah.
We all right there on that, Keith, aren't we? We got in the budget. It's in the budget.
It's in the budget for that, so something you need. Obviously, you're not using the other two pieces of equipment. They're just sitting around, and every day probably they depreciate more and more, so.
Yeah. And on their warranty, if you look in there on the warranty, they give us an extended warranty on it, and they also give us an in-house warranty to where the first 12 months they come to us, no matter where the machine is. We don't have to take it to them.
All right.
No matter what it is. But turn the signal or whatever goes out, they come to it and fix it.
John, can we, I know government stuff is a little bit different. Can we trade stuff in?
Well, he's buying it on a state contract, and the price, I have no issue with it. The only problem that I see potentially is, did we submit this or put this out for a bid? So competing equipment manufacturers could bid it. I don't know if Robert did that or if he just did a direct contract with Wayne Supply.
Yeah, I just called them and told them what machine I want with the attachments under state contract pricing. And when they come back with that.
Well, it is, if it is a state contract price, I've looked at the contract, it is a good piece of equipment. The price appears to be reasonable. If it's within his budget, I would not have any objection to fiscal court proceeding.
Well, since you have no objection, I'll make a motion that we approve that as a fiscal court, the purchase based upon the contract and sales agreement that you presented today.
I'll second that motion.
Any other discussion?
Is this going to be a purchase today, or is this going to be an order today?
I guess it'll be an order today until the machine comes on it.
Now, when the machine comes, is this going to give the treasurer, is this going to give the treasurer permission to cut the check upon delivery of the piece of equipment?
Yeah, Will is part of my concern, yeah.
Per fiscal court. Are you giving me permission to cut the check upon delivery of the piece of
I
equipment?
can put that in my motion as long as the money's there and
All right.
It's in the budget.
it's in the budget, it's there.
Just want to make sure you're giving.
So in that motion, yeah, that I give permission to cut the check upon delivery of the machine unless they require a check prior to delivery.
No, they.
Yeah, okay.
I'll continue my second.
Any other discussion? We have a motion on the floor to accept the contract as presented by Foreman Watkins about the purchase of a new backhoe from literally Wayne Supply Company, DBS Boyd. company as well, and to cut the check upon the day of the delivery. Sam, call the roll.
Mr. Mitchell?
Yes.
Mr. Logston?
Yes.
Mr. Laswell?
Yes.
Mr. Rahal?
Yes.
Judge Summers?
Yes.
Motion carried.
Thank you, Robert.
Thank y'all.
Thank you, sir.
And I'd like to,
Just real quick, I want to let you know that we are out at Happy Hollow this morning. We tore that road out already,
okay,
and we got the tracks about 60 feet was all that was left when I left to come here. They already have that out now. We'll be putting the road base back in paving tomorrow.
Oh.
So we'll already be out of there tomorrow.
okay,
So
Good.
I'm sure y'all get some questions on that.
thank you.
Thank you, Robert.
Thanks.
At this time, I'd like to extend the same courtesy to Director Harden and Ms. Walls, who's here as well. Director Harden to talk about the two chase cars that's arrived that we purchased last year at last.
Let me get this down, take just a minute. We, 1 year ago, Fiscal Court approved us to order these two chase cars, and they just came in 2 weeks ago. Bill Collins have been holding them for us. My request is to permit the treasurer to cut us one check for both vehicles.
We did today.
Already got them cut,
Yeah,
okay. The issue was we ordered them on the other budget and we're paying for them on this one. It was the delay in the factory where they were making them, but we're gonna pick them up this week. The one other thing, I'd take just 30 seconds here to brag on some of our EMTs down there. Rhonda's been working hard trying to get some more in there and hired, but the protest in Louisville has really affected us on certain days out here. We had one day, we had an ambulance trapped for 2 hours at the hospital. Thank goodness they got to the hospital with the patient. We were trapped for 2 hours, could not get out of there. Not only were we trapped, there were several of the ambulances trapped there. I talked to some of the security and they had issues. They were concerned that they were going to torch these ambulances sitting there next to the hospital. So we have on selected days with Louisville Metro Ambulance and Louisville Police and them, we just forbid our ambulances to go downtown. We still have access to Audubon, Suburban, Baptist East, Flagey, Hardin Memorial. Some of these young EMTs have never been faced with that. So we strive every day, and Rhonda does too, to protect our employees. We just won't go down there. And Rhonda's taken a call where a guy was really complaining. We didn't take down there. I've taken a couple calls. But as you know, my concern is employee safety and the patient safety. If we get trapped down there while we're trying to get to U of L or to Jewish, we have to unload the patient and carry them or do something while they torch the ambulance. So we're striving every day to keep our employees safe and our patients safe. So, you know, my position here today is just bragging on some of our EMTs and some of our paramedics. They really go out of the way to do this. And for the most part, we've been able to field ambulances every day and been able to make our calls for service. Like I say, I just wanted y'all to be aware that in case you get calls that we have been trapped there one time for 2 hours, and we get several delays. We get ambulance down there and they can't leave. One other thing is that with the judge's approval, I want to show you all this. We released through emergency management, after the judge and the health department approved it, 100,000 of these yesterday to the school system out here. They really needed these to plan on getting started back to school. We had them with the judge's approval. We released, again, 100,000 at one time to the school system. So we hope that'll help them get it back. That's all I had, unless you have questions for me.
Okay. All right. Ms. Walls, the hiring of some EMS personnel, EMTs.
Yes, sir.
Good morning. So yesterday was our first day we did a formal orientation at EMS, and it was amazing. So we had speakers come in all day. Today they're doing driver's training. Tomorrow they'll do ESO training, the database where they do the run reports, and then they'll do an all-day skills training before they get out there and start their precepting. So we started that yesterday. So you should have an attachment of personnel that we're trying to hire. We did 2 yesterday, Sabrina Elliott and Danielle Zell. Next Monday, we have 4 more, Jordan Allen, Michael Barinsky, Christopher Hale, and Ethan Mule. And then the following Monday, we have 3 more, Tyra Eubank, Sandra Spalding, and Joshua Sutton. And then sometime in September, we have a paramedic who wants to come on board. She's moving here from Virginia and moving to be closer to her daughter. And so she is excited about coming on to join our team as well. But that's going to be in September after she retires from her fire service back in Virginia. We have currently, of the folks that I named off, 2 paramedics. We still need paramedics. Although we raised the salary on 1 July, we still have not had the response that I thought that we would. So we still need paramedics. If you know anyone looking for a job, we're hiring. So, and this does not, although it looks like a lot of personnel, it does not take us up to full staff. So.
Where are we currently at on number of employees, paramedics, EMTs?
We would still need, after we do all this, paramedics, we still need 10 more because our goal was 12 and we only have 2. And we do have some of our homegrown that are getting ready to graduate and get their numbers. One passed their national registry last week. So with that, we are proposing a reimbursement agreement that we offer them for every 6 months of continuous service to Bullitt County. They'll get 25% of their tuition reimbursed. So after 2 years of staying with us, of continuous full-time employment, they'll get their tuition reimbursed 100%.
How much is tuition?
Depending on where they go, but it's on average $10,000 to $12,000.
So if they're here 2 years, we're going to pay them back $10,000 to $12,000.
Yep.
That's the proposal. So we're hoping that the 5 that we have now that are getting ready to graduate stay here with us. But like we had mentioned earlier in court sessions, that the fire services are taking them off because they're paying for all of their insurance, theirs and their families. And plus some of them want the hazardous duty, so.
We're not currently hazardous.
No, sir.
What are we finding out that's the biggest challenge? Because we've done a lot of things, I think, as a court to try to really improve things for EMS, whether it's adding ambulances or chase cars or increasing pay. But I know it's still a struggle out there, and you've brought up hazardous pay a lot of different times, but what are you finding now that you've been over there, Rhonda, for the time period you have? What's the biggest struggle getting people to come on board or to hire?
It's just the national shortage. I mean, it's nationwide. It's not just here in Bullitt County or, Kentucky. It's just a national shortage in paramedics and EMTs.
Mm-hmm. Have we ever done the numbers on hazardous pay? What it would cost us to have a paramedic on hazardous pay? Would it be anywhere close to $10,000 or $12,000?
Judge, have you, Francis?
Yes, we have, Joy, and I'll get you them numbers. I don't have them off the top of my head right now, but we ran those numbers a year or so ago. And at that time, there didn't seem to be an appetite, but now it seems like there is an appetite to do that.
Yeah, everybody, I'm sorry, Judge, what did?
No, and we'll be happy to provide them, but also what you have to remember on hazardous duty, and this is what the employees need to understand, is their contribution is more to it too as well. Mm-hmm. So it's we have looked at it, and I was glad to see you bring it up at the last meeting. I should have had those numbers this time. But that's something that that's something that when we looked at the numbers and how the revenue stream is contracting like this for EMS, it's something that's, I'm going to say it's doable, especially with paying off the debt. We can apply those funds back into, let's put it this way, the paid off debt service back into doing opportunities like that for the service over there.
I was talking to a paramedic the other day, we run into him, and it's, you know, if anybody's ever seen like Chicago Fire or anything like that, the show, then that's the way that, you know, they go in, they sit and have dinner with these guys, and, you know, it's a little better, you know, atmosphere, but every one of them that I've talked to, older ones, saying that if you would get hazardous pay, we'd be there, for sure, because, you know, you would get all the experience. It might stay 5 or 10 years, 5 or 8 years before they, you know, retire out, but, you know, you would get the older experienced ones to end. That's just my opinion, because, you know, getting on an ambulance, going to the EMT service, don't get me wrong, y'all got the greatest place over there. But when you come back in and dinner's sitting there waiting on you, and, you know, you're sitting around playing games with all the firemen, it's a draw. I mean, it really is. And going out, so, you know,
Some of the fire-based services aren't as busy as we are either. Like this lady who's getting ready to come here, she is in a fire-based service. She does 24 hours a day. She does 5 to 6 calls in 24 hours. Last night we did 21 calls. Just on night shift. And so that's going to be a challenge. I mean, it's going to be hard to do those things.
What I'm saying is like say, I just gotta, and I know you guys are working and we're trying to figure out doing the best, but I would think we really need to look at hazardous pay very strongly, you know, because that's, you know, for the older, more experienced paramedics, they're looking for a good retirement. That'd be a good draw, because, you know, grant you, we've done this, and nothing against it, but, you know, we're gonna train them, we're gonna put them in there, they're gonna go. I mean, that's just what they're gonna do. You know, they're just gonna go to a better house or go somewhere where they're making more money and having more benefits. And that's the hard part. I know that's your guys' struggle. I wouldn't want to have your, or I guess it's our jobs too. But, you know, to figure out, and I know we can't go broke doing it. You know what I'm saying? I mean, we keep adding and adding and adding, but we just can't go broke trying to, you know, to do that.
But what we can do though, for you, Magistrate Ray Hill, is have that number for you at the next meeting. And that is a commitment sitting from right here, because we, like I said, we ran them numbers, but they were on smaller numbers too. You know, looking at $21 an hour, and when you take it to 25, it's different.
Right.
I know you understand the math, so it's
even if it's something, and I don't know how their departments are set up, but even if it's something based on 10, you put so many years in with us and you qualify, or you become eligible or something along those lines. I don't even know if that's applicable, but yeah, I think retention is going to be just as much important as recruiting, you know, getting people and hanging on to talent, because, you know, it is alarming that we're back down to 2 paramedics, and we were starting to grow, it sounded like at one point. Now we're back to 2, trying to fill a spot for 10, and it's still been a national shortage. There's no secret that other cities in the county have discussed what they think is a need, and I don't know whether that need's there or not, because we've really invested a lot in trying to make sure this works. With technology and ambulances and increased pay, but that's why I was just curious what you're seeing is one of the biggest obstacles, because I don't know if Shepherdsville or if Mount Washington or whoever the city may be, you know, what's gonna enable them to find the quality talent to bring on board to have an EMT and paramedic when we're having a hard time finding them, and we're finding out that you can give pay increase, and that's not necessarily the solution.
Yeah, I think the solution, to be honest with you, is we need to get with our legislation and tell them to quit offering so many CONs. You know what I'm saying? Because everybody's go get one. And you go in Louisville, every firehouse could be 20 foot down the road to be another firehouse that's got this and got that, and they're flooding the system. You know, they're just, you know, Shepherdsville, Mount Washington. Now they want the, you know, it's money. That's all it is. They can go from 10 cents to 20 cents, and it's money. And that's all it is. The fire departments are, when you can charge our taxpayers another 10 cents on their taxes, it's wrong. I mean, it's totally wrong. Just let anybody and everybody have a CON to have a, you know, so, you know, we've struggled and pushed and pushed and pushed. We didn't put 10 cents on the, you know what I'm saying, like a fire department does. We didn't put a tax back on the, you know. So if they just quit giving them out like candy, I think it would help the system.
Right.
That's just my opinion.
Yeah, and to put the 10 cents into perspective, if you have a $100,000 home, that's $100. So when you go to 20 cents, that's $200. And when you look at that, and if you, and it's a quandary, because it's a duplication of services, and when you look at the way that we are not only positioned, but with our Class 1, we're still responsible for the whole county. So they get to come in and do something on the side, and they have the ability to be able to raise taxes under the guise of a better service when there's still no paramedics available in the area. And it is.
Right.
You know, I agree with you 150%, Magistrate, that it's an opportunity for, we need to go to the legislators because the laws are so lax on the CONs for ambulatory services, but then yet we can't get one in this community for a hospital because of the regulations are different. So it's a pretty big quandary that we need to push that forward, maybe so much than we do the road projects that we've asked for. So.
Well, thank you all for your time.
Yeah, and wait, I'm gonna make the motion to hire the entire list here, because we did hire 2 under the Emergency Act yesterday, because they need to start for their orientation, Danielle and Sabrina. But as they follow suit, you can see there's 2 paramedics in here. And to grow on that a little bit more, what we have to do, I have to take my head off to the Southeast Fire Department. We're gonna use the upstairs up there. We're gonna go in and do some handy-dandy painting, cleaning up the, what I'm gonna say, the residents up there, because when we bring these folks in from out of the state, for paramedics, they have a place to stay for 2, 3, 4 days as well. So, I'm gonna make that motion.
I'll second it.
You got a dual second by 1st and 4th District Magistrates Mitchell and Rahill. Any other discussion? Hearing none, Sam, call the roll, please.
Mr. Logsdon?
Yes.
Mr. Laswell?
Yes.
Mr. Rahal?
Yes.
Judge Summers?
See if I get any questions.
Yes. Thank you.
Judge Summers?
Yes.
Mr. Mitchell?
Yes.
Motion carried.
Thank you. Okay. Any other questions?
Next one up is that Bullitt County EMS and Bullitt County Health Department contract. It was a legal document. We passed it to the county attorney, and
Right.
I think, if I'm not wrong here, we just request that the magistrates permit you to sign it.
All right. It's agreement between the Health Department and Bullitt County, and Rob's their attorney, John's ours, or Rob and John are both our attorneys.
Yeah.
What does the agreement for, Judge?
It's for the, let's put it this way, the facilitation of services between the two, okay?
I'll put in formal motion.
Especially like what we've had for the pandemic.
Is there any money changing hands?
No.
Second.
I got a motion by 1st District Magistrate Mitchell, a second by 4th District Magistrate Rahill. Any other discussion? Hearing none, Sam, call the roll, please.
Mr. Laswell?
Yes.
Mr. Rahal?
Yes.
Judge Summers?
Yes.
Mr. Mitchell?
Yes.
Mr. Logsdon?
Yes.
Motion carried.
Thank you. And thank all of y'all for being patient.
Do you want me to do number 11? Or was somebody else doing that?
We'll take care of that. We need to move forward with planning and zoning, okay?
Thank you.
At this time, back to agenda item number 1, the first reading public hearing zoning ordinance 20-04. Don, Mitchell, Dunford, Barbara, and Leslie Delk Jr. Yep. You want to go into the executive session? No. Okay. Go ahead.
Good morning. This is Planning Commission docket 2020Z-02. The owner is Barbara Delk, Leslie Delk Jr., and Don Michelle Dunford, with the applicant being Don Michelle Dunford. They are asking to rezone from R2 single family to R4 multifamily. This is located at 377 Delk Road in an unincorporated area of the county. It's on 3.752 acres, and the comprehensive plan shows agricultural rural residential. And the Bullitt County Planning Commission, pursuant to the provisions of KRS 100.211, did not hold a public hearing concerning said application by the 60-day time period that was waived by the executive order from the governor. So based on this testimony of not holding a public hearing, the Planning Commission does not send a recommendation for or against this requested zoning.
The first reading of Commonwealth, Kentucky County and Bullitt, zoning ordinance number 20-04, an ordinance relating to the changing of zoning of certain property from R2 residential to R4 residential. The property in question is 3.752 acres, more or less, located at 377 Delk Road in an unincorporated area of the county. Whereas the Fiscal Court of Bullitt County has considered the evidence of the public hearing held by the Planning Commission and the recommendations of the Commission. Whereas the Fiscal Court concurs in, adopts the reasons of the Planning Commission for said zoning change, and approves and accepts the recommendations of the Planning Commission in this matter as set out in said minutes. Now therefore be it ordained by the Fiscal Court of County of Bullitt, Commonwealth, Kentucky, Section 1, the above property located in the unincorporated area of Bullitt County, and more particularly described in the minutes and records of the Planning Commission and docket number 2020Z-02, is hereby changed from R2 residential to R4 residential. Section 2, this ordinance shall take effect upon passage and publication. Section 3, should any section, provision, or part of this ordinance be declared unconstitutional or invalid for any reason by a court of competent jurisdiction, then the remainder of this ordinance shall not be affected and shall remain in full force and effect. Given first reading and public hearing at a regular meeting of the Bullitt County Fiscal Court on the 7th day of July, 2020, to be given second reading and voted upon at a regular meeting of the Bullitt County Fiscal Court on the 21st day of July, 2020.
Do you have a map location on this? Oh, R1 to R4.
R2 to R4.
R2 to R4.
And there's mobile homes currently back in that neighborhood. This is property that was owned by the family, and they're kind of splitting it off, and Ms. Dunford is purchasing a new mobile home to put back there.
Is there anyone here to speak for? Anyone here to speak against? 20-04?
So the Planning Commission didn't say yes or no to it?
We did, with the governor's executive order, they put the time limit for KRS was expanded prior to the 60 days of the KRS that says it has to be heard within 60 days. So the executive order came after what the 60 days was. So we went ahead and forwarded it straight to fiscal court in order to be heard by you all.
Is this in the city of Lebanon Junction?
No, it's in the county.
Doesn't border it at all then? Right, thank you.
Okay. The number 2, first reading public hearing is zoning ordinance 20-05. Allen and Shelby Brown.
Okay, the next 3 are going to be the same way, that they were not heard by the Planning Commission because of that 60-day time limit. So this is Planning Commission docket 2020Z-03. The owner applicant is Allen and Shelby Brown. They are asking to rezone from R1 to agricultural. This will be combined with 9.36 acres that they currently own that is zoned agricultural. It's located at 293 Whitledge Lane in the unincorporated area of the county. It is 2.1376 acres, more or less, and the comprehensive plan shows low-density residential. A public hearing was not held on this property by the Planning Commission by KRS 100.211 with a 60-day time limit. So based on not having a public hearing, the Planning Commission does not send a recommended for or against this requested zoning. So they are just rezoning this property that's zoned R1 to combine with their agricultural property that they already own, to become one lot.
Yep.
The first reading, Commonwealth of Kentucky, County of Bullitt, zoning ordinance number 20-05. An ordinance relating to the changing of zoning of certain property from R1 residential to agricultural. The property in question is 2.1376 acres, more or less, located at 293 Whitledge Lane in an unincorporated area of the county. Whereas the Fiscal Court of Bullitt County has considered the evidence of the public hearing held by the Planning Commission and the recommendations of the Commission. Whereas the Fiscal Court concurs in, adopts the reasons of the Planning Commission for said zoning change, and approves and accepts the recommendations of the Planning Commission in this matter as set out in said minutes. Now therefore be it ordained by the Fiscal Court of County of Bullitt, Commonwealth of Kentucky. Section 1, the above property located in the unincorporated area of Bullitt County, and more particularly described in the minutes and records of the Planning Commission in docket number 2020Z-03, is hereby changed from R1 residential to agricultural. Section 2, this ordinance will take effect upon passage and publication. Section 3, should any section, provision, and part of this ordinance be declared unconstitutional or invalid for any reason by a court of competent jurisdiction, then the remainder of this ordinance shall not be affected and shall remain in full force and effect. Given first reading and public hearing at a regular meeting of the Bullitt County Fiscal Court on the 7th day of July 2020. Given second reading and vote upon at a regular meeting of the Bullitt County Fiscal Court on the 21st day of July 2020.
Thank you, Rob. Is anyone here to speak for the Allen and Shelby Brown property? Anyone here to speak against? Any questions, magistrates?
Yes, both of them are in mine. Is it, I mean, what rang out to me is that they didn't have a chance to have a public meeting. Can we send it back to so them to have a public meeting, or?
The problem is the deadline is passed for the Planning Commission to hear it, so they would have to reapply. This was advertised for a public hearing in front of fiscal court, so this would be the opportunity for anyone to come to speak for it or against it.
Right.
So this would constitute, and there is a record of the Planning Commission. It's your staff report that the staff has put together and the information that they have compiled, they've submitted to you as well. So that's all part of the record that is for your consideration. But government bodies are not required to have public hearings. Fiscal court always has on zoning cases. You can rely strictly on what the Planning Commission does, but you have the option of having your own independent public hearing, which this court always does. So you have provided that due process to allow anyone the opportunity to speak for or against it. And these are advertised publicly in the paper as well as notices put up.
So the adjacent landowners have been noticed?
Yes, they've all been notified. We sent these four directly to fiscal court because there was no concern over the zoning, and they meet the comprehensive plan. Okay.
Thank you. Thank you.
Okay, number 3, first reading and public hearing of zoning ordinance 20-06. Brenda Lee and Peggy Pace.
All right, this is Planning Commission docket 2020Z-04. The owners, Randall E. and Peggy Pace. They are asking to rezone their property from agricultural to R1 single-family residential. This is located on a portion of 648 Cow Branch Road. It's 0.98 acres, more or less, and the comprehensive plan shows agricultural rural residential. And the Planning Commission does not send a recommendation for or against this requested zoning. They are going to subdivide 0.9 acres where the house is currently sitting for estate planning from the rest of the acreage.
The first reading of Commonwealth of Kentucky, County of Bullitt, zoning ordinance number 20-06. An ordinance relating to the changing of zoning of certain property from agricultural to R1 residential. The property in question is 0.98 acres, more or less, located at 648 Cow Branch Road in an unincorporated area of the county. Whereas the Fiscal Court of Bullitt County considers the evidence of public hearing held by the Planning Commission and the recommendations of the Commission, whereas the Fiscal Court concurs in and adopts the reasons of the Planning Commission for said zoning change and approves and accepts the recommendations of the Planning Commission in this matter as set out in said minutes. Now therefore be ordained by the Fiscal Court of County of Bullitt, Commonwealth of Kentucky. Section 1, the above property located in the unincorporated area of Bullitt County, and more particularly described in the minutes and records of the Planning Commission and docket number 2020Z-04, is hereby changed from agricultural to R1 residential. Section 2, this ordinance will take effect upon passage and publication. Section 3, should any section, provision, or part of this ordinance be declared unconstitutional or invalid for any reason by a court of competent jurisdiction, then the remainder of this ordinance shall not be affected and shall remain in full force and effect. Given first reading and public hearing at a regular meeting of the Bullitt County Fiscal Court on the 7th day of July 2020, to be given second reading and vote upon at a regular meeting of the Bullitt County Fiscal Court on the 21st day of July 2020.
Anyone here to speak for? Zoning ordinance 20-06 or against? Hearing none. Number 4, first reading, public hearing, zoning ordinance 20-07, Mark A. and Jacqueline Marie Young.
Before you do that, just so I can make a comment on that. That is, like, say, for the estate and everything, and what they're doing, they're dividing this out to the children. They got 3 children.
Correct.
And they're gonna live the rest of their life here on the property. But as they pass on, it automatically goes on to the children.
Yes.
Is the next estate plan.
And there'll be 17.99 acres remaining as
Very good.
agricultural.
Thank you, Felicia.
All right, this is Planning Commission docket 2020Z-05. The owners Mark A. and Jacqueline Marie Young. They are asking to rezone their property from R2 single-family residential to agricultural. It's located at 471 Cedar Creek Road. It's 59.7 acres more or less. The comprehensive plan shows medium-density residential. And based on the KRS 100 60-day time limit, the Planning Commission did not hold a public hearing, and so there is not a recommendation for or against this case. This was originally rezoned to R2 for a subdivision. Mr. Young and his wife have purchased this, and they have one single-family house on there and want it to revert back to agricultural.
The first reading of Commonwealth Kentucky County of Bullitt, zoning ordinance number 20-07, an ordinance relating to the changing of zoning of certain property from R2 residential to agricultural. The property in question is 59.7 acres more or less, located at 471 Cedar Creek Road in an unincorporated area of the county. Whereas the Fiscal Court of Bullitt County consider the evidence of the public hearing held by the Planning Commission and the recommendations of the Commission. Whereas the Fiscal Court concurs in, adopts the reasons of the Planning Commission for said zoning change, and approves and accepts the recommendations of the Planning Commission in this matter as set out in said minutes. And now therefore be ordained by the Fiscal Court of County of Bullitt, Commonwealth, Kentucky. Section 1, the above property located in the unincorporated area of Bullitt County, and more particularly described in the minutes and records of the Planning Commission in docket number 2020Z-05, is hereby changed from R2 residential to agricultural. Section 2, this ordinance take effect upon passage and publication. Section 3, should any section provision or part of this ordinance be declared unconstitutional and invalid for any reason by a court of competent jurisdiction, then the remainder of this ordinance shall not be affected and shall remain in full force and effect. Given first reading and public hearing in a regular meeting of the Bullitt County Fiscal Court on the 7th day of July 2020, to be given second reading and voted upon at a regular meeting of the Bullitt County Fiscal Court on the 21st day of July 2020.
Thank you, Rob. Is anyone here to speak for zoning ordinance 20-07? Or anyone here to speak against it? Hearing none. Felicia, first reading, public hearing is zoning ordinance 20-09, Dallas Earl and Eric Harshfield.
All right, this is Planning Commission docket 2020Z-10. The owner is Dallas, Dwight, and Eric Harshfield. They are rezoning a portion of their property from agricultural to R1. This is located at 5309 Cedar Grove Road. It's 3.89 acres, and the comprehensive plan shows low-density residential. The Planning Commission did hold a public hearing by Zoom on this application on May 13th, 2020, and based on that testimony, the Planning Commission finds the requested zoning change is in agreement with the adopted comprehensive plan and sends a favorable recommendation to Fiscal Court.
This will be the first reading of Commonwealth Kentucky County of Bullitt, zoning ordinance number 20-09. An ordinance relating to the changing of zoning of certain property from agricultural to R1 residential. The property in question is 3.898 acres more or less, located at 5309 Cedar Grove Road in an unincorporated area of the county. Whereas the Fiscal Court of Bullitt County has considered the evidence of the public hearing held by the Planning Commission and the recommendations of the Commission. Whereas the Fiscal Court concurs in and adopts the reasons of the Planning Commission for said zoning change and approves and accepts the recommendations of the Planning Commission in this matter as set out in said minutes. Now therefore be ordained by the Fiscal Court of County of Bullitt, Commonwealth, Kentucky. Section 1, the above property located in the unincorporated area of Bullitt County, and more particularly described in the minutes and records of the Planning Commission in docket number 2020Z-10, is hereby changed from agricultural to R1 residential. Section 2, this ordinance take effect upon passage and publication. Section 3, should any section, provision, or part of this ordinance be declared unconstitutional or invalid for any reason by a court of competent jurisdiction, then the remainder of this ordinance shall not be affected and shall remain in full force and effect. Given first reading and public hearing at a regular meeting of the Bullitt County Fiscal Court on the 7th day of July 2020, to be given second reading and voted upon at a regular meeting of the Bullitt County Fiscal Court on the 21st day of July 2020.
Thank you, Rob. Anyone here to speak for 20-10? I mean 20-09 or against 20-09? Hearing none, go ahead for number 6. Zoning ordinance 20-10, Jessica Tan.
This is Planning Commission docket 2020Z-12. The applicant and owner is Jessica Tan. They are rezoning their property from R1 residential to R4 residential. It's tract 2 on Lutz Lane and Bohannon Lane. It's .7514 acres more or less, and the comprehensive plan shows agricultural rural residential. The Planning Commission did hold a public hearing by Zoom on this case on June 11th, 2020, and based on that testimony, the Planning Commission finds the requested zoning change is not in agreement with the adopted comprehensive plan, but will bring the property into compliance with the existing use. And there was no opponents objecting to this case. So based on that testimony, the Bullitt County Planning Commission sends a favorable recommendation to the Bullitt County Fiscal Court.
The first reading of the Commonwealth of Kentucky County of Bullitt, zoning ordinance number 20-010. An ordinance relating to the changing of zoning of certain property from R1 residential to R4 residential. The property in question is 0.7514 acres more or less, located at tract 2 on Lutz Lane and Bohannon Lane, in an unincorporated area of the county. Whereas the Fiscal Court of Bullitt County has, through the evidence of the public hearing held by the Planning Commission and the recommendations of the Commission, whereas the Fiscal Court concurs in and adopts the reasons of the Planning Commission for said zoning change and approves and accepts the recommendations of the Planning Commission in this matter as set out in said minutes. Now therefore be it ordained by the Fiscal Court of County of Bullitt, Commonwealth of Kentucky, Section 1, the above property located in the unincorporated area of Bullitt County, and more particularly described in the minutes and records of the Planning Commission in docket number 2020Z-12, is hereby changed from R1 residential to R4 residential. Section 2, this ordinance take effect upon passage of publication. Section 3, should any section, provision, or part of this ordinance be declared unconstitutional or invalid for any reason by a court of competent jurisdiction, then the remainder of this ordinance shall not be affected and shall remain in full force and effect. Given first reading and public hearing at a regular meeting of the Bullitt County Fiscal Court on the 7th day of July 2020, to begin second reading and vote upon at a regular meeting of the Bullitt County Fiscal Court on the 21st day of July 2020.
Thank you, Rob. Anyone here to speak for 20-10? Anyone here to speak against? Felicia, thank you for your patience.
Good question, Judge.
Go ahead.
Looking on that, when everything around it's agricultural, what is the reason, do you know?
This is a very odd case. So it was part of a large farm that was all zoned agricultural. When they split off 3-point-something acres back in 1993, the application said ag to R4. For some reason, I don't know why, it went to the Planning Commission and Fiscal Court from ag to R1. So we show it, and the ordinance says R1 everything, but in the application, it was for a mobile home. So there was actually 2 mobile homes on this 3-point-something acres. Well, now the daughter, Jessica, has bought a portion of it from her father and wants to get a brand new mobile home on an existing site. So there's mobile homes all around this. So and in 1993, I don't know why the application was changed from R4 to R1, but it went through the ordinance and everything as R1, which we know that wouldn't be in compliance. So we're just trying to get this back into compliance where we can issue her a building permit for a new mobile home. Because all the utilities and everything, septic is all there. She's just trying to get a new one put in.
Is this limited to, did you put a stipulation on it, there'll only be one on this property?
Yes, so will only be one on there, correct.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you, Rob.
All right. Back to number 11, actions requested on a contract with Service Master Clean for EMS building on Saltwell Drive. To make a long story short, it's not only due to COVID, but we're literally still short-staffed down there, and the place needs to be absolutely spotless. The contract will run, it's what I'm gonna call literally a month-to-month contract with provisions in there to give notice when we want to sever that contractor in the relationship, and maybe when things return to normal, we can position ourselves to where we can have some of our employees down there. It's a $1,381 a month price.
How much notice do we have to give them how much notice would we have to give them?
I think it's 30 days.
30-day notice?
I'd have to reread it again. 60 days, I'm sorry.
So they're gonna do this on a monthly basis?
They do it literally almost every day.
Oh, okay.
They
gotta get that mic.
But the amount of money is $13.81 per year, or per month? Per month till we terminate it?
Yes.
Is that something that we could even put in with the CARES Act? Is that something, because it's...
Yes, and we can, absolutely.
I'll make a motion to accept that agreement as presented.
And I'll second the motion. Any other discussion? Hearing none, Sam, call the roll, please.
Mr. Rayo?
Yes.
Mr. Summers?
Yes.
Mr. Mitchell?
Yes.
Mr. Logston?
Yes.
Mr. Laswell?
Yes.
Motion carried.
Okay, number 12, agreement with Global Tech for IT services. Is he still here? Okay?
Yes.
Okay. If you have any questions, what we're doing with the IT services, we're consolidating them across the board through multiple departments, and we're upgrading our systems to handle the newest and greatest software as well. We would like to be able to have the ability to be able to, at your fingertip, be able to look across all aspects of county government to see exactly where we're at. And before Mr. Rasner passed, part of the ability that we wanted to have was communication, IT communication between PVA, code enforcement, county clerk, and planning and zoning as well.
So $67,000 a year?
67, and what we pay right now, to help you a little bit, Magistrate Ray Hill, is somewhere around 100,000. We'll be reducing our cost by that much because we have multiple departments all doing something independently.
So you're saying it's going to cost us 67, what we're going to save 100?
And we're going to save like 33,000.
Oh.
Okay?
Is JR still going to be working close with
Yes,
them, so he'll be our point?
Right.
Okay.
He sure will. He'll be our point person. And
Well, I know a lot of this is new to get used to and to learn, and the cameras and stuff, but I do think it's extremely important. I've always thought that to allow people an opportunity at home to see what we're doing that can't make it to these meetings, and technology is extremely important. So I think it's a great idea to be able to streamline things, and hopefully people in the room here today can appreciate the PowerPoints and the projectors. I know just when Ms. Colley was doing her presentation, it's real nice to see those charts and graphs, and all that kind of plays into what we've done already up to this point, and probably moving forward, if I'm not mistaken.
Right. And the only thing about that is I'd like to make an amendment to where we can have a switch up here to dim the lights so I can see them better. But anyway, it's okay.
Sure, we can get that going.
Absolutely. And I'll second Sean's motion. Any other discussion? Hearing none, Sam, call the roll, please.
Judge Summers?
Yes.
Mr. Mitchell?
Yes.
Mr. Logston?
Yes.
Mr. Laswell?
Yes.
Mr. Rayo?
Yes.
Motion carried.
Yes, and probably the most important one of the day is number 13. It's the presentation of employee raises, and in the back, you see every employee who is eligible for the raise across the board. We approved a 50-cent raise across the board with the exception of the assistant treasurer, if my memory serves me correct, for that to be $1. Is there any questions? And those who are salary will equate it back out into the 50-cent raise this year.
Is this part of the court record?
Yes.
And we omit the social security numbers off of them?
Yes. We'll delete them.
Okay.
We sure will. Thank you for pointing that out, Magistrate. I'm going to make that motion to approve the attached list as provided to us by the treasurer.
I'll second that with the,
Got a second?
omitting the social security number.
Yep. And I got a second by Magistrate Mitchell. Any other discussion? Sam, call the roll.
Mr. Mitchell?
Yes.
Mr. Lawson?
Yes.
Mr. Laswell?
Yes.
Mr. Arroyo?
Yes.
Judge Summers?
Yes.
Motion carries.
Thank you. And in the interest of time, we have 2 sign-ins, and to help those in the room, we're going to have an executive session immediately following this. Terry Thomas?
Yes, sir.
About the 5-day letter. Apparently, there's 2 of you that want to speak about it. It's okay if just one of you does, Chuck, or are you okay with that?
Totally fine.
We're here to help and to assist and do what we can, okay? Yes, sir.
Thank you all for hearing about this. So I'm going to read the 5-day letter, so if you're not familiar with it, you can understand it. The undersigned homeowner hereby requests a temporary connection of existing electrical service supplying the structure located at the address above. This service was damaged or disconnected due to storm, whatever. Repairs have been completed and/or the service has been inspected by the undersigned electrical contractor and deemed safe to reconnect. LG&E, Salt River, Kentucky Utilities may accept this agreement as a temporary measure to provide electric service in case of emergency. This agreement is valid for a period of 5 working days. Within such time, application must be obtained, and the inspection authority above must inspect and approve the repairs. If the inspecting authority does not place an inspection sticker of approval on a service entrance equipment and notify LG&E, Salt River, Kentucky Utilities through normal by the expiration date, it is agreed and understood that the electrical service can be disconnected without notice. Furthermore, in implementing this agreement, the undersigned assume all liability and responsibility to the full extent of the law for damage of life and property. This form must bear the signature of the electrical contractor. And then it's got, this was issued, I've got December 11th, 2013. Okay, we have right now chased this up through Salt River and back down. That's why Chuck's here today, to verify that on their side, they cannot connect this before it has this paper. They have 7 other counties that they take care of, okay? And all other counties accept this letter. So this means today at 1 o'clock, if any of your all's electric goes down, we call Salt River usually. They have to come and inspect their part. Call Terry, I'm an electrical contractor. He comes, fixes his thing. It takes me a half hour, 45 minutes. I'm ready to get your electric back on. Nope, can't get it back on. This is every business. We have 80,000 people in Bullitt County, excluding Mount Washington, which Don Kaufman accepts this 5-day letter in Mount Washington. So it puts all of us at bay for having electricity repaired. If it's on a weekend, sorry about your luck. Electrical inspector's on vacation, maybe a week. Who's paying for all the food that got destroyed? Okay. So on a personal note, I have a mother-in-law that has Alzheimer's in her last stages. It takes an ambulance to move her right now. If we lose electric in her house, I'm going to have to call an ambulance. What's an ambulance ride now? $800, okay? She's limited with her income. You know, this is putting us all at bay with our electricity. And so, you know, Chuck could take you through more of what they're trying to do to resolve this, but they're already telling me that in all other counties that they accept this. Don't know why exactly we're not here. That's why I'm asking you to get to the root of the issue so our electric in this county is not held at bay. Right now, we're kind of being held hostage. You all couldn't have your electric turned on. I couldn't get my electric turned on, and no business in this county can be turned on right now because we don't have this letter enforced. So thank you for your time, I appreciate it.
Yeah, and thank you so much, Mr. Thomas, is that correct?
Yes, sir.
And I'll be really upfront with you. We have met with Salt River and the code enforcement here, folks, and I really thought this issue was resolved, but apparently not, because let's put it this way, it's bubbled up to the surface in the last 6 or 7 weeks.
Yes.
So what we will do, and I'm not going to commit the court, but we will look at it in depth and in detail. And Chuck, if y'all have that same letter, if you'll give it to our county attorney so we can walk through it all the way through. I mean, I've been around Salt River for years. I mean, it's really handy for me to call Nikki. I used to call Happy all the time, but it's really handy to call Nikki and yourself to get things done when we have emergencies and all that. So this is, it's right up here because this is the second time this has come up, and I thought it was taken care of the first time around.
One more thing while you're redoing your all your electronic stuff, online permitting, that was my last issue with this was because Donna, the lady that issues the permits, was on a vacation day. I had a service go down on Monday, couldn't get the permit till Tuesday morning. If we could implement an online permit system, that would be nice if we could possibly get that worked in while we're redoing computers.
Right, and that's something that I just pointed to Jared and give me the thumbs up. Those are things that's the type of communication and information this community needs of a county of our size. This is not a campaign speech, but this is what we do to bring us into the 2020 century, and that's what JR is here for. We moved him from EMS because he has the abilities and the talents to be able to write programs for things like that.
Okay.
And I'll tell you, we appreciate you coming in. If any of the magistrates has got any discussion on this, feel free. But from where we sit, we will be happy to work with you all to get permanent resolution on this. I don't like to redo things. Okay?
Any other questions?
No, thank you for coming in. You know, we had
Thank you, sir.
talk, but I mean, that says it all when 6 out of the other 7 counties are providing that letter, and I think it's something important that we need to look at and implement, because obviously I represent District 2, Mount Washington's already doing it, so I don't want to hinder any other areas of the county, so.
Thank you all very much.
They used to take 5-day letters up until about a year ago, I think.
I don't know when it stopped. I can't tell you. It just, I had a home on, within a month, and I like to never got it inspected for these folks. You know, it was 1 o'clock and at a deadline. The inspector was gracious enough to come, and we got the electric on that day, but it could have been the next day. And, you know, most people don't have generators to hook to their house to save their freezer and all. Okay. You know, so it could have got real pressing real quick. That's why I wanted to bring it forth.
But if you're saying that we do this online and everything, that we could get it done within the same day?
Well, the way that the city of Louisville works, within 2 minutes, I could have an electrical permit out of, you know, email, doing it over email. I can do it on my phone. I'm ready to go. If you live in Louisville, I could be driving to the job, pulling off the road, getting in a permit, and going to work. And also, they have a burnout line that you turn it in, and they get your electric back on. Okay. You know, the thing is, take care of the customer, get the electric back on. We're going to get the job inspected. And this states, you know, the inspector has the right to turn it down. He has the right to disconnect it. You know, he can call Chuck and say, hey, I don't like that. Guy didn't do a good job. Go out there and disconnect it. Mm-hmm. And so I don't know that's ever been done, but it could be. Okay. So thank you.
We were in discussions with the Home Builders Association because they went online permitting as well. I'm huge for online permitting. I think it's great, planning and zoning. There was a reason why code enforcement could not do electrical permits online for commercial, because they base it on the figure of what job could have cost, and they have to have a signed contract.
Exactly.
But with residential and stuff like that, I think it might be different. So, I mean, I think that's an avenue that we need to discuss
Yeah.
moving forward.
I
I
would-
know it would benefit my department a
Yeah.
lot.
I would say if you got a commercial business that's out of electric on Friday night, you ought to be able to get a permit and get it fixed and get Salt River there and deal with the rest of it on Monday.
But we talked, for those that may not understand even here, the 5-day letter basically would allow you to turn somebody's electric back on a weekend, night emergency, and then it's given the inspection, our code enforcement, basically, they're gonna come out within a 5-day time period, inspect that, and if they find a problem, then they'll either shut it off or address it to you, the contractor.
He's gonna charge me another inspection to go clean up what I missed, which is plumb fair. LG&E does a shut on, shut off. You know, the inspector comes out, looks at what he's gonna do. It's kinda useless, but, it causes the customer to spend $50 more, to get work done in Jefferson County. But, you know, however you do it, it doesn't matter as long as we get it done. If there's another fee required there and you all deem that necessary, doesn't really matter as long as we can get the electric back on.
Okay.
Thank you all.
Thank you, Mr. Thomas. Okay, at this time, I'm going to make a motion to go into executive session.
Did that gentleman out there, was he signed up too?
Judge Mack,
Well, go ahead, Chuck. Yes, sir.
as Salt River representative here.
Right.
On the 5-day letter, Salt River would be more than glad to take any 5-day letter that comes from any county government or code enforcement office. We can't take it from every electrician or every homeowner out there. It has to come from a code enforcement office that says, we give you permission to turn this tap on. We will inspect it within 5 days, but go ahead. And we'll be glad to take any off-on letter that comes in, like LG&E does, or that comes from any code enforcement office. But we want everybody to understand that every electrician out here might have a truck full of 5-day letters. It has to come from a code.
No, I was wanting it to come from y'all, Chuck. I'm sorry I misstated that, but I wanted a copy of what y'all do.
I think that's an important point to bring up, because that goes back to maybe the importance of being able to access that online. You know, we ran into a situation 2 meetings ago where somebody was on vacation, I believe, and it was brought up and couldn't get a hold of it, I believe, is that right?
Email things to the offices all the time.
I think that's something would be worth talking to the court to see and about the potential of doing some type of 5-day online permit coming from the code enforcement office. Thank you all.
Thank you.
Take any comments from the court before you go in?
Well, we can, yeah, go ahead.
John, we had talked to you and everything this past, Ray and I did, on the building code and everything, on minimum requirements and everything, to draft an ordinance and everything. Did you get the chance to look into that?
I have not yet. I will, but are we talking about what we prepared a long time ago?
Okay.
I'm still waiting for all the feedback from the pastors before we go on to management, but I don't know exactly what you're talking about.
Well, it was to find out if we could legally go ahead and put some minimum requirements and everything on this construction.
You can enact local ordinances if you wish to do so. That would be stronger than what another county or state had. That's sure going to be your choice.
We can do that.
But you really need to sit down and discuss what you're going to do.
Okay.
How it's going to affect the economy and everybody else that's involved.
Because Mr. Magistrate, he and I inspected some of these houses, and they need some big improvements. Thank you. That's all I got. Thank you.
Good. Sean?
No.
Joe?
No.
Joe? Oh. I'm good. And I am too. I'd like to thank all of y'all who's helped us with the meals. We're at 39,000. We'll go over the 40,000 mark this week. So at this time, I need a second for motion. Thank you, to go into executive session. We shouldn't be in there very long. Sam?
State your purpose for going into executive session. Personnel.
Land. Land acquisition. Okay. Sam, call the roll.
Mr. Lockston?
Yes.
Mr. Laszlo?
Yes.
Mr. Radel?
Yes.
Mr. Summers?
Yes.
Mr. Mitchell?
Yes.
Motion carried.
Thank you.